I'm Katrina, and this is So and Tare. Today, I'm going to talk a little bit about what I've been going through with all this kind of stuff going on with the hurricane. I am totally not even near the hurricane, so direct effects 0. I'm in Oregon, not affected directly. However, this week I've felt like it's been a little hard. I kind of equate it to when 9/11 happened. So when 9/11 happened, I was in college. It was my first year in college, where I was actually at the opening convocation ceremony, and they stopped the ceremony, announced that that's what was going on, and everybody was dismissed. I had a friend whose mom worked a couple blocks away. She couldn't get a hold of her for a very long time. I don't remember if it was 1 day or 2 days, but she could not get a hold of her for a very long time. And that was very scary. It was very scary for her. It was very scary for other people who had loved ones either in the towers or near that location. They couldn't get a hold of them. And I remember watching the news and watching it over and over again. And you see the same thing. And there was no new information, and then there was false information, and then there was more new information, and then there was new information, but really it was just kind of the same. And that's kind of what I'm seeing with the hurricane news. Is it's the same story every time in different places, and it's huge. There's towns that completely got swept away. There's people that are missing. There's people that are survivors that can't get to where they need to go for, for their basic needs. There are survivors who are helping each other. There's people who are fighting each other for resources. And it seems like it's the same story in every place that got hit hard. The level of disaster in these areas, as I've seen in pictures and videos and people's stories, is absolutely stunning. It's so much that it's hard to take in. It's hard to take in that extent of damage that happened. And for me, this week, I've been going back and forth between feeling normal and feeling not normal. Feeling like my life goes on the way it has been. Nothing has directly affected me from that. However, it also, before the hurricane hit, you guys know I moved to a new property in Oregon. It's a larger property. It's more rural. And I have been planning for just preparedness. So, I just got a generator. I actually picked it up. I am dealing with all sorts of stuff with the house, making sure it's more weatherproof and weather, reliant. And then, picking up more tools that will help me in any situation, really. But with what's been going on, it really has put preparedness into the front of my mind. And I am, ordering things online and going to the store and getting things. And I'm not stocking up on toilet paper or anything, guys. I'm actually, these are the things I know I'm going to need, I was going to need, and I just didn't buy them yet. So I've been working through kind of a mental list that I had already, and I'm adding to it. So some of the things I would like to add is a hand pump for the well, because it needs electricity to pump it. And it would be easy to do a hand pump and then boil the water and have that as an extra comfort, extra thing. I am going to be getting a whole house Like, it's a battery bank, EcoFlow. I'm going to be getting that and setting up with solar panels sooner than I was going to. So this is something I've been thinking about. I didn't know these things existed until a couple months ago. And it's something that I'm going to do. I'm going to at least order the battery stuff this year. The solar panels might not happen until next year, but I'll have a generator to charge. So, because the generator can charge the battery bank as well. Things like that have really been pushed to the front of my mind. But I was realizing this week you can have as much food stored in your freezers or a generator or, pantry full of stuff. And you can have as much of that as you can. If your house floats away, or your house burns down, or if there's an earthquake and the hillside goes, you don't have that anymore. So I'm not saying don't prepare that way. Still prepare that way. Still, use your pantry and use your freezer. Don't just have it sit there. It's there for you to use. However, I did realize a lot of people are probably bringing home the tools and never using them. Ordering seeds online and never using them. I know they have all these, I don't know what they call them, but basically a bunch of seeds that you can live off of, if you're in an emergency situation. Well, seeds take time to grow. The only seeds that I know about that will grow in 3 or 4 days is sprouts and maybe microgreens. I have not grown microgreens yet. But those are only 2 things that from seed you're going to get something reasonable to eat, and that's not going to sustain you. So by all means have them. They're tasty. They're good for you. Nutrition is high. But if you have an emergency pack of seeds and if you haven't experienced gardening yet, I encourage you to take this year to experience gardening. One, there's a lot of things about gardening that you can read in books, you can look online, you can look at YouTube, and either it doesn't apply to you or maybe it applies to you differently. Each individual gardener is an expert in their own garden. And that's what I love about gardening is your garden best. You can ask other people for help. Other people can give advice. Sometimes that advice works, sometimes it doesn't, depending on your individual situation, depending on your climate, depending on your soil, depending on your water, everything. So you are your own expert. And it's very hard to be your own expert if you've never done it. So take this year to plant seeds. Plant seeds in the ground. If you want to start with starts, plant with starts. Also, please try planting some seeds, because if that is your preps, you need to know how to start seeds. Starting seeds for some species is easy. For some species, they need a little more care. For example, some species need heat, like a heat plate or heat of some sort to start, and some species need it to be cooler. There's daylight things as well. So, to the photoperiod. So I really want to encourage you to gain experience in the things you are preparing for. If you don't know how to light a fire, learn to do that safely in a place where it's not going to burn down anything. If you don't know how to filter water safely, if you don't know how to get water that is not potable and make it potable, that's something to practice. And even if you've done it a few times for those things will stick with you once you know how. That way, if you're in a situation that you need it, you won't be struggling to learn it for the first time. Now, we plan for the natural disasters in our regions. For me, that is fire and volcanoes. Volcanoes You just evacuate. But for fire, I need to be clearing some stuff. I need to be prepared with water to put out fires. I need to have appropriate things in place. I need to know how to and actually use a chainsaw. I did just get a chainsaw. I got a Ryobi electric one for a couple different reasons. One, I already have the 40-volt batteries, and so if you have multiples of those, they can last you a little bit. And two, if I needed to, I can charge it off of solar. I can plug it into a solar bank and it will charge. If there's no gas and there's sun, I can charge. If there is gas and there's no sun, then I can take the charger and put it in, plug it into the battery bank or the generator. So also it doesn't stink. It doesn't ruin your lungs. It pollutes a whole lot less, and it from all the reviews I've seen, it's basically the same as a regular chainsaw. So something to consider with that. Things like learning to can, learning to preserve your food. If you have a situation where your freezers are not working and you don't have the ability to make them work, if you can't get gas or there is no more gas for your generator, if you didn't plan well enough and didn't have a generator, canning is an option for most foods. So I know I have an all-American pressure canner that I believe can work over flame. The Prestos I don't think are rated for that because they're too thin. Somebody can check me on that. Absolutely check me on that. I do not trust, personally, I do not trust the electric ones because, again, calibration is needed. So I always go for a weight gauge. It's over a pressure gauge. So the weight gauge, you just have to know what your elevation range is. I know what that is. Therefore, I know which weight I use. I used to use 10 pounds. Now I'm going to be using 15 pounds. Water bath canners. If you don't have a water bath canner, a stock pot will work. And I have, I'll link up here a link to the Intro to Canning series that I did a while back. That way, if you are new to canning, that will encourage you and give you a better idea of what you need and what you can do. So I encourage you to think about these things. Think about heat in the winter. If you live in a hot, humid area, think about cooling in the summer. Maybe you learn how to make a swamp cooler. Maybe you just have a generator that can run a fan. I mean, some places get super, super hot. So I guess the point of this is, this hit me a little different this week than it did last week. And realizing people are collecting information. They're collecting tools, they're collecting information, but not necessarily using it. And that's what's concerning. So I've done a few foraging videos. I'll pop them up here in the corner. I've done a few foraging videos so far on my property. There's going to be a lot more. A lot of my videos are going to have me just finding something and going, oh, this is this, and eat it. Because I know there's so much food up here. What I encourage you to do is find out what you can eat in your area. If you have land, find out what's on your land, be able to identify what you can, and know what you can eat. Better yet, know what you cannot eat. So I did a video, I don't remember which video it was because I don't remember when I put it where. Honeysuckle, Lonicera berries, they are red, they look delicious, they are not edible. There's some other berries that you have to cook before eating. There's some berries that you can eat right off the plant. So knowing what you should not eat is just as important as knowing what you can eat. because if you accidentally eat something you're not supposed to, you're going to either be sick while you are trying to survive, which is no fun for anybody, or you're going to get really sick and be really poor off. So I do not want that to happen to you. Everybody has different plants in their areas. Everybody has different animals in their areas. Know what you can and cannot consume, and how it should be consumed. So that's number one. If you're in a neighborhood and you don't have property, you don't have, like me, even if you're renting, if you're in a neighborhood, explore your neighborhood, see what's there. I'm sure, most people, they have dandelions in their area. A lot of people have, medicinal plants are also a good idea to know where they are and what they are. One of the plants to know, which grows almost everywhere in some form, is plantain. And we're not talking about bananas, we're talking about the plant. And I don't think there's any up here. I know there's some down at the bottom of the hill. There's strawberry leaves up here. I'm not seeing any here. But usually you can look around and find something if it's in a human affected area, which does include sides of trails and in trails. So that is an invasive plant. It's a weed. I don't know if it's considered invasive, but it's a weed. It's not from here, but it's something that has tremendous medicinal properties that you can read about. So I would know that plant. If you don't know any other medicinal plant, I would know that one, and take it from there. So using your knowledge with foraging is going to come in handy, because number one, you're not just learning it, you're knowing what it's supposed to taste like in a safe environment. If you pick the wrong thing, you can go to the hospital still. Please don't pick the wrong thing. Please consult multiple sources when identifying things. Don't just go off my videos, and don't just go off somebody else's videos. At least one be a book, right? Have multiple sources for the things you can eat, especially when it comes to mushrooms. I would not start with mushrooms, and if you skip mushrooms altogether in your beginning, that is completely fine, because mushrooms can have deadly consequences, and we like you to stay alive. You can eat anything once, I say. We'd like you to be able to eat things more than once. So, I guess that's my outlet, is kind of bringing you guys into my thought circle and saying this is where my brain is, and my brain is on making sure I have the tools available, just both physical tools and mental tools, but also ability tools. So being experienced in the things that you're learning. So you can read a book, you can look up YouTube videos, I call it YouTube University, and you can feel like you know a lot. And it's true, you can learn a lot. You can learn a lot from people, you can learn a lot from your neighbors. You can learn the history of an area from your neighbors. Build your community, you will know them, they will know you, and you'll be able to share your skills. If an emergency system comes up, and if an emergency system doesn't come up, you have a good network of neighbors. That's always a good thing. But having experience with the things you've learned, so having concept versus having experience, those are two different things. And when you have that, both the concept and the experience, you can then be confident in what you're doing in an emergency situation. You can do things quicker because you don't have to think, oh, how do I do this? Oh, what page was that book on? Oh, that book floated away. I don't even know what I'm doing anymore. Anyway, so another thing, I think I was on number 2. I don't know. For foraging, you're going to love the food anyway. You're going to like the food anyway. You're going to end up foraging anyway. You're going to find all the berries, all the apples, all the, like that's a manzanita right here. And I know those make little tiny little apple things, and they're edible. You know, when that happens, I might go and pick some. Once you start learning about foraging, if you're anything like me, you will want to forage all the time. And everything you see, you say, what's that good for? And sometimes it's food, sometimes it's medicine, sometimes it's a weed and it should be pulled and dug out and put away. Sometimes it's going to be for wood or for some other reason. It can feed your animals, you know. I mean, there's all sorts of things to realize once you start looking into these things and saying, what is that and what can I do with it? So this thought process, I've been going through this really all this week, and last night when I sat down, actually it was today, it wasn't last night, I was thinking about it last night, and then I sat down today and wrote out my newsletter, which I haven't done. It's supposed to be monthly. I haven't done it all summer. You guys know why. I've been busy. So if you did not get a newsletter by now for October, go to the website and re-put in your contact, because I put it in wrong. I know a bunch of people from the Heirloom Expo, I put in emails from the email list. I may have put it in wrong, so if you didn't get one, go ahead and do that yourself. And the first section of the newsletter, I always have a little bit of inspiration. And I was really struggling to come up with a little bit of inspiration in a time where so much is I don't even know what the word is. So much is different than normal. Let's just say that. There's multiple things going on, but when so much is different from what we would consider normal, I really was struggling with that. And so the inspiration I took from what is going on now is to share with you and continue to share with you guys my lessons learned, my experiences here, my adventures in foraging and finding new things on this property and bringing homesteading topics to you, and be that side of things to show you what I'm doing, to teach you some things, to talk with you on Monday nights at 6 p.m. Pacific time for the live chat. If you guys have questions or want to, talk about some of these things, it's a great time to do it, because I'll be there and other people will be there and other people are in other parts of the country, and we can all come together with different perspectives and give the same or different answers. So that is my role. That's my inspiration for you guys. Another inspiration is to use what you learn. Same for me. I am learning all the time. I don't know everything. I know a lot. I don't know everything. And everything new that I learn, I need to then follow up with, well, how do I use this? How does it apply to me? How might it apply in the future? So these are things I need to be thinking about. These are things you need to be thinking about. If you haven't started a garden, if you haven't met your neighbors, if you haven't, you really want chickens or quail and you don't have quail yet, if you, have a place to forage. I mean, you can grill a garden too. There's so many things people can learn and then put into play. And I feel right now that we live in a world that's generally screen driven, and that people are getting information, but they're not using it. And that's not everybody. I know that's not everybody. But in a general sense, I think that's a very real assumption for a lot of people. So anyway, that's what I have to say. I hope you enjoyed this video. were inspired by this video, were introduced to some things, some ideas that you might take with you and continue, and to think about how you are going to put information you already have into play, how you're going to become your own expert in your own yard, all of these things. So thank you for watching, and I hope you have a good day, and maybe share this video or share this concept with someone, and hopefully people learn to do a lot of things in the next year, or the year after. I mean, I say to do this in this year, but to be honest, it's a lifelong journey. Pick some of the really important ones and do them today, tomorrow, next day, do them this year. Learn this year, and continue to learn actively. Thanks for watching, guys.